Hi everyone, and welcome back to MOAH Live. I'm Kimberly, I'm your engagement liaison, and I'm here today to talk to you about the work of Alex PINNA. If you have any questions during our live stream, feel free to comment in with them and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. I'm particularly excited for this tour because I was actually able to visit Italy this past summer for a museum studies class, where I also got to visit some Italian art museums and look into their archives. It was really cool, and I am excited to be back in California but still surrounded by Italian artwork. So without further ado, let's look at Alex PINNA's work. Alex PINNA was born in Imperia, Italy, and earned a fine arts degree in Milan. His degree was in painting, which is interesting to me because in a moment you'll see that his main body of work is sculptural. You're currently looking at some of the artist's drawings, which feature androgynous human forms that are in the midst of monumental tasks and endeavors. PINNA chooses to create his forms without facial expressions or other defining features so that the viewer may focus on the different aspects of the human condition featured in his work rather than on individual personalities. PINNA chooses to render emotion through elongated limbs, which draw the viewer's focus to the position and action of the body, communicating feelings such as solitude, meditation, or reflection without regard to gender, race, or social class. Let's take a closer look at this with some of his sculptures. So we're going to travel down to another area of our second floor where we'll look at two of Alex PINNA's rope sculptures. The first sculpture that we're going to look at is site-specific, which means that it was created specifically for the wall that it is installed on. So in just a moment we'll take a look at that and we'll talk about some of the themes of the artist's work as well as its installation. So the rope sculpture that you're currently looking at, you'll notice that the two huge figures made of rope are hugging each other with giant arms that are connected. This is meant to symbolize union between people and countries in a time of division and sorrow. The sculpture is titled Wall Alias. As I said earlier, it's site-specific, which means it was created particularly for this space. Again, you'll notice that the inner arms of the two figures are hugging each other, and that they morph together so that the limbs are no longer specific to an individual form. This is PINNA's way of asking viewers to join hands and look at the future together, casting aside difference due to gender, skin color, race, or religion. It's an invitation that's especially meaningful today. Now that we've discussed the themes that are key to this artist's work, let's take a look at how it's installed and how it's made. To do this, we're shifting focus to Alias Equilibrium, another rope sculpture which you may have noticed as we discussed Wall Alias. For this piece, I'm sure many of you are curious about how it was installed. First off, Alex PINNA selected this sculpture in particular for Estate Italiana because it fits so well in this space. Floating above the museum's first floor entrance, the balancing figure is viewable in different perspectives from the museum's first and second floors, almost as though it were designed to be installed here. In order to get the armless figure to balance on the rope, the artist had to use a few different techniques. If you look closely, you should notice a thin piece of fishing line rising out of the figure's head towards the ceiling. This allows for it to remain suspended vertically. However, if the figure was only suspended by this line, its balancing position on the single rope would not be believable because it probably wouldn't remain stationary or stay still. To solve this problem, PINNA constructed the sculpture around a thin metal rod about 5 to 10 millimeters thick. This rod forms the skeleton of the entire figure and stabilizes it. To keep the figure balanced, PINNA allowed the rod to protrude from the bottom of the figure's feet, bending it back and into the rope that it's balancing on, which keeps it firmly in place. There was one other issue that the artist had to solve with this piece, though. If you look at the rope that the figure's balancing on, you might think that stretching it across the empty space was pretty easy to do. However, if we take a closer look at the railing that the balancing rope is attached to, we'll see that things are more complicated than they seem. You'll notice here that the space between the two panes of glass that form the barrier is only about 1/4 inch wide. You might also have noticed that the rope is about 2 inches in diameter. In order to wrap it around the railing and through the glass panes to secure it, PINNA had to unravel the rope, separating it into the thinner strands that had been braided together. Each individual strand was then fed through the small opening, gathered into a bunch, looped backwards, wrapped around the balancing rope's circumference, and then securing the structure. For added stability, our preparator fitted the metal clamp that you can see around the knot, ensuring that alias equilibrium would remain in perfect balance for the entirety of the exhibition. So that's all we have for you guys today. I just wanted to remind everyone quickly that the museum will be closed this weekend for the Boulevard Streets of Lancaster event, but please come back and visit us on Tuesday when we will reopen during our regular hours. Also, be sure to tune in next week at this time where I will be back to talk about the work of Carla Viparelli. Ciao for now.